Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod, here to talk about Survivor Season 47, Episode 13, titled Bob and Weave, Part 1 of the two-part finale. Last week, Sam's big Italian reward saw Andy leading he, Sam, and Genevieve in Operation Italy, a god-tier Survivor heist, at the expense of Sue's precious jewel, Caroline. Before I dive in, I put a link in the description to my playlist where you can catch up on my previous recaps. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing. My recaps aren't meant to replace the original material, so if you missed the episode, I put a link below to get started with Paramount Plus subscription for free. But let's dive into it. The episode starts with Jeff introducing a 2-hour first part of the season finale and laying out the final 6 players' games, where he labels Rachel as the biggest threat in the game and lets us know that we'll be getting down to 4 players tonight. Heading to the main action, the players return to camp after Caroline's blindside. Sue is upset to be the last Tuku standing. She's especially pissed at Andy for turning on the Underdog Alliance. The Italian operatives are thrilled and giggling as they've just pulled off one of the biggest moves in Survivor history. Teeny confronts Andy, who plays his vote off as a last-minute decision he made on the way to Tribal Council, and the Italians decide to fully gaslit Teeny to win over Teeny's vote and make a 4-person majority. Teeny tells us they're down to work with them and target Rachel. Rachel's Rachy senses are tingling, so she eavesdrops on their conversation as they talk shit about her in the dark. She hears them talking about Genevieve's idol, that she now believes is real but is really fake, and them discussing Rachel's block of vote, so she knows she can't trust Teeny and can only trust Sue. The next day, Sue is mourning the loss of Caroline and goes out looking for another idol. Rachel quickly comes chasing after Sue, and Rachel shares with Sue that she has an idol. Rachel tells us that she needs Sue on her side if she wants to get anything done in the game. Rachel also wants to try to smooth things over with Teeny. They get tree mail about the challenge.
Now's the time for the final push to jump in and to bob and weave.
Bob and weave.
Oop, they said the thing. So they head to their immunity challenge, where Rachel's immunity is back up for grabs. Survivors need to leap off a platform, navigate buoys, and complete a Survivor standing logo puzzle. The first to finish will win immunity and go to the sanctuary for unbranded stakes. They get started with Sam and Genevieve getting to an early lead, and Sue executing a gorgeous swan dive, falling behind but getting style points from me. Genevieve gets to the puzzle first, but they're all working at the same time, and Rachel's always been good at these. It comes down to a mother off between Rachel and Genevieve. Ultimately, Mother Vieve bodies this and wins immunity and a spot in the final 5. Jenny gets to pick 2 people to join her for the reward at the sanctuary. After Sam tells her not to pick him, Genevieve picks Teeny and Sue to join, sending Sam, Rachel, and Andy back to camp. I thought these were solid picks from Genevieve. Obviously, Rachel's her target, why take her? And her relationship with these 2 she's taking could use some work. At the sanctuary, Genevieve quickly throws Rachel's name out there. Of course, they agree. I think the dirt has been doing wonders for Sue. Her skin is glowing and exfoliated here at the supper. Speaking of Sue's dirt makeup, she posted a video on Twitter dressed as Mrs. Claus doing a makeup tutorial using ash from her fireplace, and honestly, she ate that.
I hope this clears things up.
Teeny is getting wasted and accidentally blurts out that Genevieve has an idol, and foots in mouth about how naive that was in confessional, but Genevieve thinks this was great for her game because the idol is fake, and the more people who know about it, the more power she has. Back at camp, Sam, Andy, and Rachel have an emotional conversation as the 3 ex-gatas. Rachel tells us she's playing into her imminent death, crying about how she's going home, but knowing instead it's one of the 2 of them. Sam walks away, and Rachel tells Andy that Sam is a jury threat over Andy in an attempt to get Andy to turn on Sam for this vote. Then the reward players get back to camp, and Rachel and Sue offer Andy a final 3 deal if he helps them to take out Sam. Andy seems to be really licking his lips at an opportunity to make a big move here, but he ultimately decides to sit Rachel down and tell her that he's decided to vote her out of the game. Since he's decided that she's going home, he gives her his formal campaign for her jury vote, which made Andy look really asinine here. And his formal listing of his resume to Rachel makes her consider Andy as a potential target instead of Sam. So they head to Tribal, where Rachel is about to mess their lives up. I've never been less stressed watching this show. You know when your plane's about to take off and the experienced white-haired pilot comes out to shake the hands of the people in the front rows? That's how safe I felt coming into this Tribal with Rachel in charge. Tribal starts with Rachel quickly calling bullshit on Sam's version of Operation Italy, and we're off to the races. Rachel tells Jeff that she was told she's going home and that it's her funeral. Then Andy gives a quick eulogy for Rachel, and Genevieve and Rachel refer to themselves as Voldemort and Harry Potter. Jeff classically passes Rachel the mic. She says that Survivor taught her to have more fun in life, and they get to the vote. We're shown that Sam's vote is blocked by Rachel, and when Jeff asks for advantages, Rachel pipes up and plays her idol on herself, obviously shocking the group. Jeff reads the votes, and there are 3 votes in there for Rachel that don't count, and 2 votes for Andy from Rachel and Sue. Rachel tells Andy on the way out that he made a very convincing argument about his game, which ended up being bad for him. So we say goodbye to Andy, who started on the Gata tribe with that unforgettable breakdown, which was a bit controversial. After getting rejected by Rachel, then he teams up with Sam to save himself. He would go on to grow more powerful in the game, referring to himself as the girl in She's All That who takes off her glasses and suddenly is sexy, hot, and cool. His game really starts popping off at the merge, with a string of 4 episodes that were all titled after quotes by him, all culminating at his Operation Italy episode, which was the climax in a season-long story of Andy, with this final episode feeling like a falling action, with him getting overly confident in his own game and ultimately playing himself out in a place where he could have been in the final 5 instead of Sam, and probably the final 4 with a good shot to win, had he not had that last-minute conversation with Rachel. I've said this before, but the show obviously loves Andy. I think the idea that someone with such a terrible premiere getting so far and having such successes were kind of what they were hoping to get from someone like Banu, had he made the merge, or other players who had rocky pre-merges. And when we look back on this season, I largely think we'll look back at this as the story of Andy. While I do think he would land on a new era villains tribe, he's a complex, funny person with a really interesting backstory, and I have a feeling I'll be talking about him again on a video I'll be doing before the end of the year. Following Andy's vote out, the players return to camp, and Genevieve continues her lie about her fake idol, even though Sam knows the idol is fake. Voldy and Harry make a fire and joke with each other about their rivalry, with Genevieve announcing to us that it's now going to be Genevieve versus Rachel. In the morning, Sam snoops through Rachel's bag. He's pissed that she's still around. While he looks in her bag, she's looking in the jungle for an idol. Sue is proud of herself that she's made it all this way with a secret idol that nobody knows about. Elsewhere, Rachel and Genevieve look for idols in tandem. They agree that they're the biggest threats in the game. While they're gone, Sam, Sue, and Teeny agree that they feel the girls are overconfident and treat them like they're irrelevant in the game. They head to the immunity challenge where Miss Genevieve's thing is back up for grabs. Players need to race in from the ocean, dig under a sandy log, then balance on a spring. Stacking 6 balls, the first one to complete it wins individual immunity. They get started. Sue is queen of the sand crawl and gets to the balls first. The ball stacking looks really hard, and Teeny has especially Charlie Brown-esque shake going on. Everyone is dropping. Drop, drop, drop. The ball stacks kind of make me want Oreos. Of course, this challenge is a mother-off between Rachel and Genevieve, and ultimately, Genevieve drops and Rachel wins immunity, securing her spot in the final 4. The final 5 return to camp, where Sam quickly tells Teeny that Genevieve's idol is fake, and that he helped her to make it. Sam wants Teeny to feel really betrayed by Genevieve, and it works. There's a whole montage of Teeny reflecting on Genevieve playing in Teeny's face, going all the way back to the Keyshawn vote. Teeny brings this information back to Rachel and Sue, but they aren't sure if they should trust Sam. Teeny decides to confront Genevieve once and for all, and Genevieve quickly fesses up to the idol being fake. Somehow this leads to Teeny going back to thinking maybe the idol really is real. So they head to Tribal, where Teeny publicly exposes that Genevieve's idol isn't real. Sam tells Jeff that he purposefully told Teeny that the idol was fake because he wanted the information to get exposed, because one thing about Teeny is that Teeny will tell everybody everything. Sam is publicly telling everyone to vote for Genevieve, and Genevieve is saying don't vote for me. The others aren't sure if this is honest play or Sam and Genevieve working together to trick them with an idol play. They get to the votes, with Teeny taking a really long time to make up their mind. When Jeff asks for idols and advantages, Genevieve confirms that her idol is fake. Sue plays her idol for herself, confirming that she had the red paint idol the whole time, kind of impressing the group and the jury. Jeff reads the votes, and there are 3 votes for Genevieve and 2 votes for Sam from Genevieve and Teeny. So by a vote of 3-2, Genevieve is voted out of the game. So we lose Genevieve here, who started the season on the Lavo tribe, where she was seemingly beloved by everyone, but we didn't get shown a lot of Genevieve in the beginning. I feel like if we were shown more Genevieve, I would have been more convinced that Genevieve had a legitimate chance to be the winner here. She appeared out of the blue in the Keyshawn Boot episode, where she was really a gangsta and sniped him out of the game for coming for her, which he did deserve because he was coming for her. Over time, I think out of guilt, she convinced herself that she screwed him over for no reason, but he was coming for her. Around the merge, she put her own game on hard mode when she decided to turn on Saul, someone who was willing to work with her way too early, which put her threat level way too high and left her short on allies, leaving her just playing dead for a few rounds. But she's a great player for having navigated all that, and still took part in Operation Italy, one of the greatest moves of all time. When she ended up here in the final 5 with nothing to protect her, she was pretty doomed. Overall, I love Genevieve. She was playing like an all-star on her first go round, and I'd love to see her again on my TV screen as soon as possible. This was a really solid 2-hour chunk of Survivor. For my player of the episode, I'm gonna give it to Rachel. She started the episode with Jeff saying she's the player to beat. She had everyone on her ass. She played everyone and embarrassed them at that first tribal. Cutting Andy over Sam was the right move, and getting Genevieve next was great for her too. She really ate this episode. I wonder if she can keep eating next week, or will she be full? There was a scene this episode where Genevieve and Rachel ask each other who wins if they're both not there in the final 3, and they agree it's Sam, which I think was an interesting addition to the edit. And if Sam can beat the final boss in Rachel, I think he's the obvious winner. But that's all I have to say about this episode. Let me know in the comments what you thought of part 1 of the finale. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back next Wednesday for part 2. Until next time, have a nice weekend. Bye!